Hi. Thanks for tuning in again. It's a couple days after Christmas. I'm going to update you on my personal life. Um, on Christmas Day, I was invited to a very nice couple that I know from my Bible study and also from the community I live in here, this great senior community I live in. It's called Bear Creek. And we had a nice dinner with several other people, family style. And I'm so happy they included me. Felt good because my kids couldn't be with me this year. And the next day, I went to another little get together. Quite a few people. I mean, at least 20 or more, 30 people probably. Um, a new resident had all her new friends over to meet her husband, who just came down for Christmas, and he'll be joining her at some later date. So I want to encourage you all, if you're getting near a retirement age or if you already are, to get into a retirement community because it's great. It's really great where I am. There's so many good people and you have things in common just because of your age, and everybody tries to help each other out. And where I live, anyway, it's great. It's really, really great atmosphere, healthy lifestyle. So I'm very, very blessed and happy. Get okay. So tomorrow I have friends from Atlanta who arrived in Daytona today. They're looking at Margaritaville, which is a more upscale senior community than where I live is more affordable. Um, my place is called Bear Creek, and they are going to be there for over New Year's, and I'm going to be getting together with them for dinner tomorrow and again on Sunday. So yesterday or the day before, it was the day before, I had a first date with a guy who I met at the Moose dancing, um, and we took a little walk on the beach, and then he bought me lunch. It was very nice, and I did like him. He has a great smile, and he smiles a lot, and I love that. Uh, so he seems to be intelligent, and um, we didn't talk about a whole lot of things, kept it pretty light, but he's going to join me for dinner tomorrow with my Atlanta friends, so I'm looking forward to that. And now I get back to my story, okay? So when I was 24 years old, 1977, I told you last time I went to the Vermont Jazz Festival with Bob. Now I had to refresh. I started dating Bob when I was 19, and we dated for 2 years. Then we lived together for 4 years, and that brings us up to this point in time. And I did find out that I got pregnant, which I wanted to. I was ready. I was 24 years old. I had a good job, and I wanted to get married. I definitely felt like I loved Bob, and I wanted him to be my husband. I thought he would make a good dad. And I was ready. I had been praying in a new way, a more serious way, trying to get closer to God and wanting to have a family. We got a little puppy, which made us start to feel more like real family, even though we had been living together like we were married for 4 years. And it was all good. We were getting along really well, and everything was good. So I did get pregnant. I went off the pill, which I was on for 5 years. I went off the pill because I felt like my body needed a break. The side effects were serious. You could get cancer and every other thing, whatever. So I told Bob I was going off the pill. He said, I don't blame you, when I read him the side effects. But, he didn't think about, well, gee, we need to do something else. Well, I was doing the rhythm. I learned about rhythm, and I figured we'd just do rhythm. But as soon as I went off the pill, I got pregnant like immediately. So, um, told Bob, and he was not happy. Um, he just didn't know how to handle it, and he went to bed. And he stayed in the bed for 2 days. He didn't go to work. He just stayed in bed. He couldn't even talk to me for 2 days. And after 2 days, he said to me, "Well, I guess we have to get married." He said, "If we don't get married, all of my family will hate me." So that was my marriage proposal, and I took it. And after that, it got better. He accepted the idea, and I was very happy, even though, of course, it wasn't so good the way he was so reluctant about it. But I just felt very confident that it would work out because we were getting along well, and I really thought he would make a good dad. So, got pregnant, and I did not know how I was going to be as a mother because um, I had mentioned before in previous episodes that my mother never allowed me to babysit when all my girlfriends did, and I didn't have I had one brother that was 8 years younger than me, so I never had experience with little babies much at all. And the little bit of experience that I ever tried to get, whenever I picked up a baby, they always started screaming. They just didn't seem to like me for some reason. Um, I used to think, and it might be true, that, well, one thing they might have felt that I was kind of tense because I wasn't comfortable with little babies, or kids at all, little kids. I was never around little kids. So, but the other thing I always felt, and it might be true, is that um, I was very thin, like I told you many times. I was very skinny, flat chested, and I felt like the babies just didn't feel comfortable when I held them. They would rather be, on a woman that had fuller bosoms or a man that had more muscular arms and chest, that was more comfortable for them. That's what I always figured. Uh, so I was not comfortable about babies. I bought Dr. Spock book, and that was kind of popular back then. It was very popular when I was a kid, I think, but people were still reading it. And I learned from that. I also bought an exercise book about what to do, when you're getting pregnant and as your belly's growing, how to keep in shape and all. And I started doing exercises. I actually did sit-ups through my whole pregnancy. And I bought a book about breastfeeding. I told you that I was very natural. I was a hippie. Of course, I did not want to give my baby any formula, out of a, powdered formula. And uh, I believe that breast milk is the natural way. And I read the book La Leche by the La Leche League. That leche is milk in Spanish. Anyway, that told me everything you need to know about breastfeeding. So I felt confident reading that I could do it. Because, like it said, it didn't matter how big your breasts were, the milk's going to come in. You can do it. Most women can do it. Only very rare if they have a problem with their nipples that they can't. But most women are able to breastfeed. So that all sounded good to me. And then before that, I got to tell you, we did get married. Okay, I almost forgot to add that important thing in there. Okay, so when Bob agreed to get married, okay, so, couple bumps in the road there because his mother, she called me up and she just yelled and screamed at me because she wanted me to be Catholic. She wanted me to turn Catholic, and I refused. I said, that I liked the Methodist Church, and that's what I believed. And I had been to visit the Catholic Church a few times, and that, I didn't feel like I wanted to turn Catholic. They have these, the traditions and rituals and things that were not meaningful to me. And I didn't feel like I needed to do these things to be close to God. So I tried to explain that to her, but she was yelling and screaming and very upset because she wanted her, her grandbaby to be Catholic, and I was supposed to turn Catholic. But Bob didn't care. I mean, Bob seemed to seemed to believe in God, but he never went to church, even though he did. He went through Catholic school all the way up to high school, and he was an altar boy and all that, and his but he never he didn't care if I was Catholic or not. So I did. We decided to get married by a judge to keep it neutral, right? And I didn't want a big wedding. Both of us were not that type, really. We were hippies. We didn't really care about all the traditional stuff. So, and my parents didn't care either. So, my mother made me a very beautiful gown that I picked out, and we decided to get married by a judge in our apartment that we had been living in for 4 years, right? So we just invited uh, Flash, who was like Bob's best friend, and his girlfriend, and they were going to be our witnesses. And I think they were the only ones that we really invited to the house. We might have invited our parents and grandparents. I think we probably did invite our parents and grandparents and brothers. I have one brother, Bob had two brothers. That was all we invited. Okay? Little tiny apartment we had, 1 bedroom. And the judge came. Well, Bob's from this big Italian family, right? With many aunts and uncles and cousins. Well, guess what? They all came. They all showed up uninvited to my little apartment, and they just all squeezed in. They said, "We came to see Bobby get married," and that was it. They all squeezed in, and no kidding, the judge was backed up against the front door, and we were like right in his face because the room was so packed with people. Anyway, it was cool. It was nice. It was nice. They all showed their love and accepted me. They all knew me already. I mean, I had been, going to Sunday dinners and Christmas with them, and I went to several weddings of Bob's cousins with Bob. So, everybody knew me well, and that was all fine, and they were all happy, and it was cool. But my parents did give me a nice reception in the at the VFW, because if you remember, my dad was a lifer in the army. He was actually in CIA, which I didn't know till later. But um, my brother was working. Oh, I didn't even tell you what happened with my brother. I got to tell you that. Okay, my brother, 8 years younger than me, he had an older girlfriend who was like 18, 19, and he was only 15, and she got pregnant. And my poor brother, he's a freshman in high school when this happened, and he tried to be the big man. He dropped out of school. He got a job in this uh, Italian restaurant making pizzas, and they had the baby, and they lived together for 1 year. I mean, he was only 16 when he became a father. They lived together for about a year. It didn't work out, but anyway, so he had to pay child support, so he never was able to go back to high school, but he did get his GED. He was working in the Italian restaurant, so they catered, had good food. We had a full bar, and I think I invited 70 people, I remember, and I think even more than that showed up. It became like it was like everybody in town that knew me and Bob very well. They were all there. It was a really good party, and then we went that night. I had to drive because Bob drank too much. I didn't drink hardly anything. I think I might have had the champagne toast because I was pregnant. And even back then, I don't think they even knew about alcohol, how much it affected the babies, but I was being careful. And we went to the Poconos where we often camped, but this time we went to a honeymoon resort. But it was late October, which was off season for a good reason because it couldn't do hardly anything. Um, and there was only like one or two other couples there at this whole hotel because it was off season. It was really weird. Um, and so we were just there a couple days. Bob got very drunk that night. I remember telling him, "This is our wedding night, and we have to have sex tonight," because he was ready to just pass out. Anyhow, um, everything was good after the wedding. And as my stomach grew, Bob became to look, he started looking forward to the baby coming. He got excited about it too, just like me. And we went to Lamaze classes, learned how to do the natural childbirth. And actually, I have a picture here. Um, this is one of me in the Poconos when I mentioned that we used to camp there often. And this one was where we used to camp. There was a lake, and it was called the Promised Land, the campgrounds that we like to go to. We went many times. We brought friends. One time we brought both of our little brothers with us. So that was me, what I looked like back then. Okay, and here is one of our wedding pictures. We didn't have a professional photographer, but there we were. And I found, when I was looking through my pictures, I found this picture of the World's Fair. This is back when I was 11 years old, New York. But I did mention it in one of my previous episodes, so I thought I'd show you the picture because it's kind of been forgotten. New York World's Fair. Okay, long, long ago. Alrighty, so let's see, what time is it? Okay, I have time to tell you about it. Oh, we had Bob's family gave me a nice, very nice wedding shower, and I got big. And when I was in my 7th month, and I was working still, but when I went for my checkup, I had my blood pressure had skyrocketed. I had gained quite a bit of weight, like 38 pounds I gained, and you're only supposed to gain about 20. And I was real happy that my breasts had grown because I never had breasts before. But everything was, I was chubby all over at that time. But my blood pressure skyrocketed, and I was at the clinic, and they were really concerned. Like, they made me sit down immediately and said, "You need to go home, go to bed, lay on your left side, and stay there for the rest of your pregnancy. And if you're even one day late, we're going to do a C-section because you're very high risk because your blood pressure." I was dizzy that day and seeing things floating, or dots floating around, and I was about ready to have a stroke. So I had to quit my job. I mean, I could have went back, but it turned out I didn't go back. But that's jumping ahead. Anyway, so the last 2 months I stayed in bed, laying on my left side. And when my time came, when the contractions are 5 minutes apart, we started to the hospital. It was in the middle of the night. No, it was at night. It was at night. I forget what time we went to the hospital, but I was in labor 14 and a half hours. Anyway, I know that. And the hospital was not far, but the road, Rockwell Avenue, was very bumpy with potholes, and every bump hurt so bad. And we got halfway to the hospital, and Bob had forgot the camera, so he turned around, went back, and got it. I was in extreme labor. And when they put the fetal monitor on me, it was like off the chart. um, really extreme. I wanted to do totally natural. They did give me something in an IV. They called it nice until. I don't know what that was, but it just, they said it'll just take the edge off. Just, you still do a natural childbirth. It's just going to take the edge off. Because I had got to where, after I was in labor, like 12 hours, 10 or 12 hours, I was like, my whole body was shaking. I was like having uncontrollable shaking all over my whole body. So I was like going into shock or something. Anyway, they gave me this IV and it took the edge off, and I was still, I was able to handle it. And I did have a low forceps delivery. Um, oh, they had induced me. They induced me like the day before. They gave me the shots to induce labor the day before. And I have heard that if you have that in inducing labor, that the labor is a lot more intense, and that's what I had. It was hard. Anyway, Lauren, sweet little baby, 7 pounds 11 ounces, beautiful. But I forgot to mention that poor Bob, he was extremely sick at that time. He had like the worst cold of his life, so he had to wear a mask. I don't think they all had to wear a mask back then, um, but he was there with me. And uh, the day after Lauren was born, I woke up with his cold and I was sick as a dog. So they kept me in the hospital for 4 days, and I had to wear a mask. Whenever I had the baby, I had to wear the mask. And 4 days, which usually I should have been able to go home on the second day. Um, so everything was wonderful. I'll tell you about when my milk came in, because that's a big happening for a first mother. Um, and women that didn't nurse don't know this stuff, but the first couple days, the baby doesn't get any milk. They get this stuff called colostrum. It's just like little bit of like yellowish sticky fluid, but nothing like milk. It doesn't fill their stomach or anything, but it gives them your immunities. And so that's expected that you don't have milk for about 2 days. And then when my milk came in, it was like, oh my goodness, all of a sudden, it was like two faucets turned on in my breasts. And all of a sudden, they just gushed. You could even hear it. You heard it go, psh! And Lauren was nursing at the time. And all of a sudden, oh, 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 oh. She's doing that and just gulping the milk. It was such an experience. What an awesome experience. So, normal, healthy, beautiful baby. But from the very beginning, I was her milk bottle, and she seemed to enjoy her dad holding her more. I mean, she liked me best when she was nursing, but if she wasn't nursing, she liked best to be in her dad's arms. And we were all very happy, very happy. And that's the end of this episode. So I hope you come back, because next time, a whole new chapter of my life. It's going to be good. Thanks for watching. God bless.